Hey everyone, I'm Kristen, the Cross Stitching Runner, and welcome to my channel. I want to say a big hello and welcome to all new and returning viewers. And if by chance you've stumbled across this channel is all about cross stitch with a bit of life stuff thrown in. Before I jump into all of the stitching and things that I've been up to, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has stuck with me regarding, I guess, the stitching or the focus piece that I've been working on for quite a few months now, and not posting as regularly as I had been prior to focusing on a piece called Grinch Santa Claus. And the very exciting thing is that Grinch Santa Claus is finished, and I'm going to insert a short clip very soon about the finish, showing everyone what it looks like and all the jazz that goes with it. Noting that today is Sunday, the 17th of August, and Grinch Santa Claus was finished on, technically, it was finished on Sunday, the 10th of August. However, I had finished quite a lot of the stitching on Friday, the 8th of August, and on Tuesday, the 12th of August, I dropped it off to Nina, who is Miss Barbarette. The clip that I'll insert has all the details and such about the finished piece, and I'll also put additional information in the description box below. So without further ado, here is past me talking all about the finish of Grinch Santa Claus. See you very soon after this clip life stuff thrown in. And I am super excited about this episode because I finally get to share with you a finished piece that I've been focusing on for what feels like forever and a day. It is probably more specifically a little over 8 months, 10 months when I actually started this piece I'm about to share with you, and focusing fully on it for the best part of 4 to 5 months at least. So without further ado, okay, poor drum roll. This is Grinch Santa Claus, and I have finally finished stitching it. Now, I have it pinned back just a little, so it just makes it easier to fully appreciate the awesomeness of this piece. So for anyone who is popping in for the first time and not really sure why I'm so excited about this particular piece I've been stitching for a friend who is going to get Grinch Santa Claus framed up, and then it will hang in her store called Miss Barbarette in Wollongong. And she had chosen this particular piece for me to stitch for her, and also noting that my friend initially didn't really know what was involved with cross stitch or how long it would actually take to get this piece done. So thankfully she's been amazingly patient with this process, because I was able to advise her that this has 65,340 stitches in it, and it would take me at least 6 months to actually get this done. So it all worked out in the end. I had the date or goal of getting this particular piece done by roughly the 9th of August. And for muchness, I definitely achieved that goal by, for the best of my understanding at the time, I had put all the stitches in on Friday, the 8th of August. I took a day off from stitching on Saturday, the 9th. I took a train trip up to Sydney. How awesome does Grinch Santa Claus look finished? I can't wait to see the framing job that Nina's going to do on this piece, and to then see it hanging up in her shop is going to be absolutely amazing. With all of that said, the great thing is I can now focus on a wider variety of projects, and start sharing with you on a more regular basis the progress that I'm making on the variety of whips that I have. The first focus piece that I have is called Under the Sea, and it's an exclusive design by Durene Jones for Lakeside Needlecraft. And this particular piece is one that I am looking to enter into the 2026 Canberra Royal Show, which means that I need to finish this by, I think it's the end of January next year. At the moment, I feel like I have plenty of time, there's nothing to stress. Also, noting that there will be a cover page inserted already if I haven't done so. And without further ado, this is where I am up to so far. Noting that I am stitching this on 28 count opalescent even weave. It is dyed by Paddock Lane Designs, and this particular piece of fabric is called Tropical Ocean. I'm stitching this 2/2 using all of the called for colours. The great thing is that I've got heaps of fabric available for this piece when it comes to framing, and when I trim it down and get it all framed up, I may even have a little bit left over so I can perhaps use it for a couple of smalls. I've already got some ideas in mind for what that could be if the sizing works out okay. So what I'm trying to do in some cases is backstitch as I go, and so far it's working out okay. I'll have to wait and see how it goes for the rest of it. The next piece that I've been working on, where I did have the hope of being able to enter it into the 2026 Canberra Royal Show, was called, or is called Autumn Leaves by Hot Cross Stitching. And this is the cover page of what it will look like when it's done. Now, I have started this on 28 count linen, stitching 2/2. I'd stitched part of it in hand and then moved over to a hoop when I started to have a bit of fabric available. And I have found that when I was stitching this in hand, that the leaves especially looked really good. I loved the way that the stitches were sitting on the fabric. And then I found that when I started stitching the darker shades, that a lot of it had to do with the tension that I had for the fabric, and it may have been the DMC colours that I was using as well. And I apologise if I'm already going over some old ground here, because I know that I've talked about this particular piece before. So my plans with this is to restart this either on some black Ada or perhaps some dark even weave, because I feel that I'll get better coverage with this, and I'll even look into using some dark anchor threads or something very similar to that, so I can get the coverage that I really want with this particular piece. So it may not be until perhaps 2027 that I enter this into the Canberra Royal Show, or if I'm finished before then, if some of the other major shows are still available or open for me to enter into, then I might enter them into other shows in 2026. I'll have to wait and see. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you is called I Am a Custodian by the Black Needle Society, designed by Katie Landis. This came in the first stitching box, so to speak, of the Downton Abbey stitching retreat for seasons 1 and 2. And within the last few weeks at the most, I have paid and entered in and pressed all of the buttons to purchase the second installment of the Downton Abbey stitching retreat box, which will be happening within the last couple of weeks at the most of April next year, which means that this piece I'm about to share with you, I'm aiming to try and finish by then. So this is where I'm up to so far. I'm stitching this on 32 count even weave. The fabric is a mist dye that I purchased from Paddock Lane Designs, and even though this particular piece is a mist dye, it is still such beautiful fabric to stitch on. I am stitching it 2/2 using all of the called for colours. One of the things that I'm noticing, I'm keen to making an effort with finishing this piece by April next year, because with the other stitching retreats that I've been involved with that have been hosted by the Black Needle Society, it's been a rarity, if never have I ever finished a piece for a stitching retreat, and I would love to be able to keep up. Noting that it is pressure that I'm putting on myself to finish, I am a custodian rather than any other external pressure. So, fingers crossed, all goes well. On a related note, I am looking forward to picking up the AFL Stitching Challenge pieces that sadly I've not really been able to do too much this year because I have been solidly focused on Grinch Santa Claus, noting that I am super proud and chuffed that I've been asked to stitch Grinch Santa Claus, because it is the first time that I've been actively commissioned by someone to stitch something for them. So that is something super cool, and who knows, this could be an opening for future endeavors. With all of that said, one of the pieces that I have started focusing on or putting some love and time into with regards to the AFL Stitching Challenge is Four Seasons Kittens. This is part of a kit that I've had for quite some time. It's part of the gold collections, or gold collection rather, by Dimensions, and it is a piece that I have associated with an AFL team called the Geelong Cats, and this is where I'm up to so far. As we can see, I just have 1/4 left, and we can then celebrate and jump for joy knowing that the piece is finished. It will definitely be washed because, as we can see, the piece has been well loved and accidental spillages has happened, or have happened rather. I am using all of the called for colours, the fabric that's come with it in the kit, and all the jazz that can be said for this particular piece. The interesting thing with me picking up the AFL challenge so late in the year is that we have roughly 2 weeks or so of the minor premiership, and then the season for many of the teams will be done for the year, and we'll then jump into finals, with grand final happening in September. That will be very cool and exciting. With all of that said, getting back into Four Seasons Kittens, I was surprised that it took me a bit of time to really get back into the flow of how Dimensions set up their kits and how their charts work. It was something that had taken me by surprise, and now that I'm back in the groove of how it all works, I'm looking forward to putting some solid time and effort into it. Also noting that we are roughly up to round 23 by memory, and there's roughly 24 rounds within the regular season. And I was counting up some numbers because I've been keeping track of all of the winning teams for each round so far and what their winning scores have been. And I've counted most of the final scores up for Geelong Cats, and I'll need to put roughly 1,513 or so stitches, give or take, into Four Seasons Kittens. And this is where the beauty of a dimensions kit comes into play. In this particular case, I'm not going to be specific about what stitches are going to count as the 1,500 stitches that will go into it, because for anyone who hasn't yet stitched a dimensions kit and you might be keen on stitching one, it is a fantastic challenge for patience and skills, because you get to have a variety of full and half cross stitches. So you've got a little bit of tent stitches, you've got some full cross stitches, and also some back stitching in some cases as well. There's also the challenge where with the tent stitches, it'll vary from one thread up to about three threads at least for the piece that I'm working on. I have heard that that will vary a little bit from piece to piece. So this is where whatever stitch I need to put into the last quarter of Four Seasons, that will go towards the 1,500 or so stitches that need to go into the piece, because if I do become pedantic and just say it's just going to be full cross, that's going to do my head in for trying to keep count of what stitches have been done and haven't, and for me that's going to get too technical, and it's going to take away a lot of the fun that I have with stitching, because I'm very much a process stitcher compared with being a product stitcher. With all of that said and done, though, I am very much looking forward to getting progress made on Four Seasons Kittens. Depending on how things go, it will most likely be sometime next year that Four Seasons Kittens will be finished. In the meantime, I have some notes I need to double check on. Okay, so we're pretty well up to date. As time goes on, I'll be able to share with you more of my whips that will be associated with the AFL Stitching Challenge. Also noting that the Women's AFL has quite recently started up, which means that if I do want to follow along that line of stitching, then I may be able to either incorporate my existing whips or perhaps incorporate some other whips and new starts that I've been eyeing off for quite some time. We'll have to wait and see on that one, and if nothing else, this might be a great time for me to plan it in terms of what projects will get involved with the women's AFL, and then perhaps this time next year I might do a full-blown let's do this, let's get the stitching happening. We'll have to wait and see. Now, speaking of next year, quite recently, I guess earlier today, I was looking on social media and I saw a couple of posts come up about the stitching retreat happening down in Tassie, specifically in Hobart, with a needlework store called A Stitch in Time. Now, I'm contemplating attending this in-person stitching retreat, which will be Christmas in July next year. And I have been to Hobart before, and it was roughly 16 or so years ago when I last did a holiday trip visit to Hobart, and sadly I've not been back since, and I'm very much keen to head back. So I'm umming and ahhing about whether to sign up for the stitching retreat, and what's got me cautious or uncertain about going is I'm uncertain about the theme to an extent, knowing that it is Christmas in July. So I'm very much partial to doing a Christmas in July type of stitching, because I have definitely done that in years gone by. So that's definitely all good. Where I'm feeling uncertain is if it's all going to be based around samplers and such. So this is also me thinking out loud, trying to justify, thinking, okay, hey, everyone needs a holiday, so that's all cool. Anyone who's been following this channel for some time will recognize what my stitching style is, what my interests are with stitching. So this is where I'm feeling cautious when it comes to samplers. However, I may come across a sampler that I will fall in love with. I have done a little bit of Quaker stitching and that was actually a lot of fun. So there might be something similar at A Stitch in Time. We'll have to wait and see. I do have several months to contemplate, noting that I'd need to hurry up and pull my finger out and press buttons if I was going to make an appearance. Watch this space. We'll wait and see. Until then, thank you very much for sticking around and catching up with me on all of the stitching and all of the fun things that have gone on. And if by chance you are interested in a bit of life stuff that has been happening, then I'm going to insert another clip where I talk a bit about a trip that I did up to Sydney last weekend, if not the weekend before. A lot has been happening recently. So it was around the time when I finished Grinch Santa Claus and I did a quick trip up to Sydney to go and watch MJ the musical. So if you're interested in hearing about that, stick around. But if not, thank you so much for catching up, and I will see you all hopefully in a couple of weeks' time. Catch you all later. So I took the train up to Sydney because I went to see MJ the musical at the Lyric Theatre. I'm so glad that I went because it was an absolutely amazing experience. It was I'm still buzzing a bit from it. Everyone involved in the performance were absolutely amazing, and everyone who was doing singing, the dancing, the performing, and the acting and everything were phenomenal. It was such a well put together production that can't fault it at all. It's just absolutely amazing. And the person who was doing the lead role of Michael Jackson, he's absolutely amazing in terms of how well he sings like Michael Jackson and the practice he's put into moving and all the rest like Michael Jackson was just absolutely phenomenal. And I got to fangirl a little bit in my seat. I had to contain myself a bit because one of the performers in the theatre production was also an actress that I've seen on Home and Away, and Home and Away is a soap opera kind of show here in Australia that has been running on TV for 20, 30 years or something like that. So it was really good to sort of fangirl a little bit over that side of things. I hadn't fully realised that there was an actress in that from Home and Away, so that was all good. The other really cool thing about the whole event was that I travelled up on my own, and I don't often do that kind of thing. The last time I had travelled on my own over a significant distance of any kind was a couple of years ago when I went from Wollongong up to Queensland to participate in a fun run, and everything went okay. I was safe the whole time. Through me misinterpreting what I was seeing and hearing with signs and such, travel from the Brisbane airport to my accommodation was adventurous and took longer than it should have. This time around, when I was just traveling from Wollongong up to Sydney and back again, everything went well. I learnt from my experiences and everything went well. That said, yesterday I was absolutely knackered from it all.